Done is better than perfect. Today on Engineering ADHD. Hey, and welcome back to Engineering ADHD, the channel where we try to make sense of this crazy thing called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Today we're going to be taking a look at the concept that done is better than perfect. I'm going to twist the words a little bit and say done is more important than perfect. For those of you who don't know, I'm a maker. I build a lot of software, I build a lot of hardware, and do a lot of interesting projects that way. And oftentimes I get stuck in a situation where I don't think something is good enough because it's not perfect yet. So I wind up not delivering on the deadlines that I've set generally for myself, or if I'm working in a team to try to build something, I wind up not delivering on those deadlines because I don't believe that it's perfect. I believe that there are still more wins that I can accomplish, and I believe that there's still more things that I can do with whatever it is I'm building. So today we're going to talk about a couple examples of that. At the end of the video, we're going to go through some of the tips that I have for how to complete more projects, how to get to the done phase first. So for me, a lot of what I deal with is I have a problem that nobody has solved yet, or is so unique that I can't find anybody else that solved it. I'll give you an example. I'm working on developing a library for something called an Arduino that allows it to communicate with a module to send data to and from space. The module is not easy to deal with, so I wanted something to be able to handle that and work as a hardware wrapper around it. So basically think of it as a translator. It makes using this with other projects much easier. I have obviously featured this on my other channel, Mikey's Lab. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead. And if you're into making in any way, or electronics or software, by all means check out that channel. And on that channel, I have been promising the second video in this series of the hardware wrapper for this thing for way too long. And part of the problem is I don't think the code is perfect. So I asked a friend of mine to take a look at where I was, and he said done is better than perfect. Right? So yes, there's probably still some areas of wins that I could accomplish, some ways that I could make the whole thing more efficient, but that's not as important as delivering the final product. And at this point, my solution works. It might not be the best solution, but it works, and it will accomplish the goals that I want it to. So he's right. It makes sense to just let that go, and hopefully in the next couple of days, week, I will shoot the second video with the software that I've been promising forever, and just let it go and let it be done and not perfect. Oh, in a lot of situations, and I know most of the people who watch this channel are not makers and they're not software engineers, so that example is kind of bad. But understanding that not everything you do has to be perfect, but the majority of what you do needs to get done is a big thing. As for how I deal with this situation and techniques that I guess we could use going forward, that other people with ADHD could use going forward as well. The one that I mentioned and alluded to before, have somebody else take a look at what you're doing and ask them if you're done, right? And probably more often than not, they're going to turn around and say, yeah, it's done. And there's nothing else that you can do. There's a saying that I learned in my art class that the difference between a child's finger painting and a work of art is a single stroke. Now that can also mean that you put one too many strokes in as opposed to stopping when you should. When people are counting on you and you're working in a group, the work that you do being done is more important than it being absolutely perfect. And in most cases, I have found when working in group projects, especially with hardware and software, the people that I turn the work into, even if I don't think that it's up to the highest caliber or highest standard that I am capable of doing, often find whatever I turned into to be either phenomenal or acceptable at least, and definitely does what it needs to do and pulls my side through. I think that the desire for all of us to find that perfect comes from a lot of different pieces inside of the ADHD mind. Rejection sensitivity disorder is something that will play in there, where you don't want to feel like an idiot and you don't want to look like an idiot, so you're going to sit there and you're going to obsess over every single piece of the solution or the product that you are delivering to ensure that it is 100% perfect, because you don't want them to go, what were you thinking here? Well, here's the thing. You're never going to avoid making mistakes, right? There's always going to be mistakes. You can overanalyze yourself to the point that you miss a deadline. You can overanalyze yourself to the point that the solution becomes so complicated nobody else can use it. So I think at the end of the day, we have to realize that our colleagues, our friends, our group members don't want to criticize us. They want to enjoy the relationship that they have with us. They want to enjoy the gifts that we bring. So being worried about somebody telling you that you did something slightly wrong, despite the fact that the solution works and meets the requirements that you needed, is kind of a misnomer. So those are the two biggest strategies that I have. The first one is realizing that my level of perfection is well above what everybody else's expectation is. Everybody else is expecting functional. Everybody else is expecting relatively efficient solutions from me. What I'm demanding of myself is well beyond that. And that's not fair to me. And that's me not being fair to me. So the first piece of advice is to understand when you're not being fair to yourself. Understand when your requirements are much higher than everybody else's around you for your own solutions. For your own, whether it's painting, whether it's music, whether you're writing, whether it's a proposal at work, whether it's a research project, no matter what it is, understand that the requirements that you are going to place on yourself are almost invariably higher than that of the people that are around you. And the second, and this one is recent for me and something I'm going to continue to do in the future, when you think you might be done, but it isn't perfect, and you find yourself hunting to make it perfect, have somebody else look at it. Have somebody else read the paper, have somebody else look at the painting, have somebody else listen to the song. Whatever it is that you're making, have somebody else get another pair of eyes on it. And more often than not, I think you will find that you were done, right? That they enjoy what you have created, that they don't see any way to necessarily make it better that's worth the fight through to change it. So done is better than perfect. That is how I fell prey to the toils of my mind, and how I plan to not do that in the future. If you like this content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. If this particular video rang true with you, give it a thumbs up. If you have situations where you were stymied by the hunt for perfection, comments down below. If you have other suggestions for how people can deal with that hunt for perfection, not letting them get to the done stage, comments down below. As always, if you wish to have a more private one-on-one type of a discussion because you don't feel comfortable with the general public viewing what you're saying, there's an email address at the end of the video. By all means, launch me an email. I love the conversations I have with you guys. So I'm going to once again say I hope you learned something today. We will speak again soon. And remember, there will always be somebody who does not see the unique gifts of your mind. Don't let that person be you.